Did you hit record?
Yes, I hit it when you said now.
Oh, cool. Hey, that should listen to me trying to say, hey, that should help with the sync. Not remembering that last time when we recorded these, somehow through some manipulation of time and space, yours was moving at a different speed than mine. Like, you know the measurement of seconds, right? It's
Vaguely.
the same no matter where you are. Apparently.
Not entirely true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you get closer to a black hole, time dilates.
Okay. On the Earth, is it reasonable to assume, like, because we're measuring seconds based on, like, you know, how long a day is, and a day takes the same amount of time no matter where you are, right?
I'd say it's close enough.
Yes.
I mean, like, Alaska has 4-week-long days, so...
Oh, yeah. This is so hard to...
What's that movie? What's 30 Days of Night? That's it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Classic.
I guess we'll
Except,
just assume, since I'm a little further north than you, that accounts for the difference in how yours somehow moved faster than mine, and by the end of the hour, it was completely desynced. And if you went to different, like if you went earlier, it was like, it's totally synced up here. Then if you synced it at the end, it was totally desynced at the beginning. God, I don't understand that. I hope it doesn't happen again. But
Welcome to the Dudrong Number Physics and Math podcast.
Yes,
we're about to get into some time dilation today.
That's what it's now called. I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, this podcast is kind of like a college student who hasn't decided their major. It's like, I don't know. I could go anywhere. And
I'm just kind of doing whatever I can right now.
Yeah, I love how those people always have like an air of mystery about them. It's like, oh man, you know, I could do anything I want. Who wouldn't want to be in my position? You're already committed to something. You've already decided what your future is. My future could be anything.
Usually it's nothing, though.
Oh yeah, like it's like, oh, what'd you go into? Biology, literature. Always something super like super general. Yeah, super generic. No one's ever like, oh yeah, I decided I'm going to become a lawyer now. It's like, no, if you're going to be a lawyer, you were going to become a lawyer when you were 17. Like you had long decided that.
Or your parents did.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, well, I guess that's another thing. The people who are undecided, they're definitely like, yeah, my parents are just going to support whatever I want to do. And that definitely sounds attractive to someone who didn't have that. I wasn't in that situation. My parents were just like, I mean, you know, whatever you want to do.
I think the ones that are undecided usually aren't the ones working 2 jobs to pay for their college.
Yeah, that's usually the case, huh? Pros and cons to that kind of thing, but definitely defines this podcast right now. That's why in the first episode was kind of called About Video Games ? Because this doesn't like really need to be about video games. It can kind of just be about whatever we want to talk about at the time.
It's the main thing we have in common, but I'm sure we can find other talking points.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about plenty of other forms of entertainment. Or, you know, transhumanism. We can always go
Philosophy,
down that tangent.
Yeah.
Just bring up Adam Jensen or augmentations, and it's like, even though it's tangentially related to video games, we could just keep going. But, yeah. Some of the stuff I wrote down, it mostly has to do with video games. But there was a little thing in here about Detective Pikachu, which I know you haven't seen yet. It's not a spoiler or anything. But
yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. I really want to. I just have been keeping my plate full and my wallet empty lately, which is a combination to not go to the movies.
Yeah, I've been keeping my plate full while trying to not spend any money.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Well,
did you pay off your loans?
Oh, God, no. That's kind of what sparked the interest to try and get through my backlog of video games, because it's like, okay, no, I'm not allowed to buy more stuff until I at least beat 3 of my old games. So, because what was happening, I'm just spending a lot of money on video games, and then I don't even play them. So
yeah, I feel you on that. I finally played Halo Wars 2 after getting it for Christmas about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Knocked that sucker out in a weekend. I was sick, so I had an excuse to sit there and play video games all day.
Yeah, I've made my excuse the interest of saving money and the interest in having things to talk about on here.
And playing video games, which is fun. We are allowed to use that as an excuse, I suppose. Even if we're adults.
I guess it is, but when I just play video games for fun, I feel like I'm missing out on something.
Yeah, it's weird. I do too. I wonder when that started.
I think I know when it started. It started around the time when I started like surrounding myself with people who wanted to talk about video games. Like, okay, when I was like a teenager in high school or whatever, the only games we really talked about was like, you know, the most recent Call of Duty, because that's the stuff I played with my friends. If I was playing anything Nintendo related, I wasn't really talking about that to other people. It was like I was playing the game because I wanted to play it. When I got to college and I like when Pokemon games were coming out, like that's why I bought Pokemon X, was because I wanted to be involved in the conversation. And I think that was the culmination where it's like, I'm buying a video game just so I can be included in a conversation that I wouldn't care about otherwise. Like, buying and playing video games became a social thing where it wasn't that before. Mm-hmm. Like, Call of Duty was a social thing, and like playing stuff with my brother was a social thing. But it was more like for the sake of playing the video game. I'm not sure if I really have that anymore. I think I've grown out of that. Now it's, I want to play the video game because I want to have an opinion on it. I care more about being able to talk about it later.
And I play a video game because it's Titanfall 2.
Yeah. Hey, that kind of relates to one of the things I wrote down that we could maybe talk about. I put this in the category of cool and also maybe fun questions on the podcast.
Oh no, which I think terrible at pop quizzes.
It's not a pop quiz, but I was gonna like. I think too much of an on the spot question is what's your favorite video game? But
oh Lord.
Yeah. So I'm not asking that, but I'm kind of asking like what's your favorite genre, but maybe not that broad, kind of just like what's a genre of game where it's like you see the genre and it's like, yeah, I'm interested in that.
Because I know Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say I always know which ones I'm not interested in. Like, I'm really not interested in turn-based stuff or like RTS things.
Racing games.
Oh, okay. Hey, a little callback to last time. But what would be one where it's like I'm already interested just because of the genre?
I mean, I enjoy most first-person shooters. Maybe it's because I've played them enough to where I know the general mechanics well enough to pretty much be good right off the bat.
That's interesting, yeah. I kind of get that feeling, but then I ended up playing so many in that like 360 PS3 generation that I found so many that I disliked that now I'm like hesitant. Or it's like you gotta show me something good, because it's like it's not an automatic sell.
My guilty pleasure genre would be turn-based strategy.
Is that a guilty pleasure?
I mean, like,
those are considered kind of woke because it's like, it's like chess.
Well, like, that was the first game I played. I learned to play when I was like 5.
You learned how to play chess when you were 5? Oh, Mr. Boy Genius over here going for his master's degree.
Don't worry, I didn't accomplish anything later on, but
you're getting your master's degree right now.
I'm trying.
If only I had been placed in front of the chess when I was at a younger age. Instead, I was playing football at age 5. Look where that got me.
That's probably why you didn't have the same concerns I had in high school.
What do you mean, like, concerns?
Like, not being social. Did you ever go to a party in high school?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Wait, did we talk about this? Where it's like you had never been to one until college? I think we did talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a running joke for a while in college where it was like, Jan is finally experiencing high school in the college context.
I went to one party in high school, but there was no alcohol. The parents were there. It was kind of just a hang out at the person's pool and play a few, I think, what was it? Was it Wii some dancing game on some motion control thing.
It's probably Just Dance. Yeah.
Probably.
Oh, and Just Dance was at every party there for a while. Like, Just Dance usurped Guitar Hero pretty handily, probably because you didn't have to put an extra, like, $60 into getting enough controllers. Like, into getting another controller. Yeah.
Like Guitar Hero. Band?
Yeah,
that was like dropping 120 or something.
Yeah, let's see. Wait, what was it? It was like you could get the bundle. I'm trying to remember. Dude, I haven't thought about this era in my life for so long.
I think the bundle was like $200, and that came with the microphone, the drums, and a guitar. One guitar.
Yeah, it came with one guitar. And then you get the extra guitar for like $50, $60 or something. And then that was when you could have the full band. Yeah. Dude, the rhythm game craze for a while there.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime it was a rhythm game, I was on board. Like, I played any rhythm game I could get my hands on there for a while.
Then, I went full into them.
Yeah, then it really overstayed its welcome. It got so oversaturated.
Also, I think they still come out with Guitar Hero games. I don't know about Rock Band, though.
They came out with Guitar Hero Live a few years ago. And it's not that it flopped. It's that it was constructed around a long-term monetization scheme where you couldn't buy songs. You could only rent them. And as a result, ironically, people spent way less money on the DLC because they're like, well, I don't want to just rent it.
Well, what do you
buy
know?
It. Yeah. So I think that recently got shut down. I think Rock Band came out with... Rock Band 4 came out, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check this. I'm pretty sure Rock Band 4 happened relatively late. Yeah, it did. And then there was another Rock Band spinoff, which didn't require any instruments. You just played on the controller, which I'm just like, maybe just add that as a feature to the existing games. But then I guess you can't sell it again.
Did you ever play Frets on Fire? I think that was the name of it.
No, that sounds sick. I played a little bit of Rocksmith, which actually taught you how to use a real guitar.
Frets on Fire was a PC game and like open source. I think it was free to download. You could like import songs, and the way you played it was you'd take a keyboard and hold it sideways and use the like F keys as the frets, and then the enter key like the strum button.
Yeah, that's cool. Why did your voice go down when you said that?
Because I could not remember the words around that.
As I become less confident in my next bit of speech, I lower my voice to sound more confident.
It's an intimidation tactic.
Strum button.
If you get me talking about something I know nothing about, I'll start sounding like Vin Diesel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then when you get excited, your voice starts to gradually go up. I guess because the real you starts to come out.
Oh, God, no.
But yeah, that was rhythm games for a while. It was like, is it music based? I'm in. Then I think we got Rock Revolution or something. It was a Konami stab at Guitar Hero. And it was so incredibly bad that I like couldn't believe it. And then shortly after that, the Guitar Hero games started becoming a bit disappointing. And it was like, oh no, Olympus is falling. And yeah, that all came crashing down. And now no one plays rhythm games unless they're like those obscure Japanese ones, which come out like every couple months, it seems like.
Was it DJ Hero? The one that had...
Yeah, dude.
What was the thought process behind that? I'm not even sure how that worked.
DJ Hero. I think DJ Hero was actually the best of its kind because okay. You've seen the controller, right? It was like a turntable.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. I'm not entirely sure how that game worked.
Okay, so instead of strumming, you would move you would do a record scratch, and you would hold different buttons while doing the scratches, and you had a forward and back scratch, and then also you had like little crossfade controls on the side. And every song was two different songs mixed together.
Okay.
So what was cool about DJ Hero was that while Guitar Hero and Rock Band were all like covers or master tracks of licensed music, DJ Hero was taking two licensed songs, or I think some of the stuff was a licensed song and an original track, and they were all original remixes. So all of DJ Hero's track list was entirely remixes, which I thought was super cool. And it gave it something that was, gave it something a little more, I guess, special, I guess. Like you wouldn't really look up the Guitar Hero soundtrack because they're just real songs that are out there. But you can look up the DJ Hero soundtrack and it's like, yeah, this is the only place I could get this. But then DJ Hero 2 came out super fast, and I believe it expanded on it a little bit. I never played the second one, but yeah, everything was coming out way too close together, and it all felt rushed, and it overwhelmed people. There wasn't enough consumer interest to support all the money that was getting dumped into like buying the rights to all these songs, which is really expensive. Like, we all know, you got to sacrifice an arm and a leg to get like one Black Sabbath track. And the fact that they would have like whole set lists that are just loaded with big, like top 40 songs. That's a good way to lose all your money.
Yeah, it was quite a bubble that popped.
Yeah, to the point where like that kind of thing, ones that use licensed music, like it basically just doesn't happen anymore.
Which is a shame, because that was really fun. I loved playing My Chemical Romance and stuff on Guitar Hero 2.
Yeah. I mean, thank God, that's predictable.
Wow.
You know what's cool is Guitar Hero is what really got me into classic rock, and then by extension got me into metal.
Ah.
Like, the whole reason I got into those was because of Guitar Hero.
So you're saying video games are the reason you are the way you are?
You could maybe make that argument.
Pretty easily, I'd say.
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of time on them, and man, that was such an intense phase of my life. That was one of those times where it was like, hey, I might actually want to get into music. Then the bubble burst, and it was like, oh yeah, I have no talent. I have no musical talent. Why would I waste my time on this?
Speaking of which, have you heard of Drop Mix?
I've not. What is this?
It's a music creation card game, but now that sounds pretty lame. But you hook it up with like a phone or an iPad, and you have these cards that are different tracks. Like you've got a drum track or a vocal track or a guitar track, and you can play them in a way that creates a song.
It uses near-field communication. This was made by Harmonix, the same guys that made the first two Guitar Hero games and made Rock Band and Amplitude. Wow, these are like the guys. They made a new thing.
Yeah, it's like $50 on Amazon, and I want to try it sometime.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems like a thing where the cost starts to spiral out of control if you really invest into it. That's really cool, though.
Yeah, so I'd say we have a game night sometime, and become musical artists.
Yeah, we'll call it that. Dude. How did I never hear about this? It got all these awards from sites that I visit. Wow,
I heard about it from a podcast and nowhere else.
That's so strange. Is it still supported?
It seems to be. I think they recently were giving out cards at like a convention or something.
Sweet. All right. Drop Mix, that's something to look into.
And Harmonix, if you're looking to sponsor someone, as of right now, we've got a whole 2 listeners subscribed to the audio form of our podcast, including me.
Oh, okay.
I think the other is Dallas. Hi, Dallas.
I mean, if it is him, hi, Dallas. If it isn't, then we'll call you Dallas.
I'll call you whatever you want.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything really interesting come out for the rhythm genre ever since that whole bubble burst. Like, it feels like trying to revive Rock Band or Guitar Hero at this point, like it's too far gone. We'd have to have another, another bloodline rise before we could go back to the old one.
I'd say the only thing that's really gotten popularity would be Beat Saber. And I don't know if that it's like that, but it's not mimicking playing the song. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a subversion of that genre.
Beat Saber was more, I don't know if it's a subversion, but it was more like a hybrid system where it's like, this is a rhythm based action game in VR. So it had a lot of cool novelty going for it. And the fact that it was a VR game that was easy to pick up, play, and enjoy, which VR desperately needs. So, yeah, Beat Saber was definitely a right place at the right time kind of game. I'm not sure how you expand on it, though, which was the problem that Guitar Hero and Rock Band ran into.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they've got a tool that, I don't know if it's official, but there's a tool that lets you import any song, and there's some...
Oh, yeah. There's some
people
crazy
put some
stuff out there.
on there.
Wait, what do you mean? That sounds almost foreboding.
Oh, no. I mean, just like the DMX Make a Cake mix-up song.
Okay. Well, also, like, Through the Fire and the Flames, obviously.
Obviously.
Because that's now the gold standard of any rhythm game. I remember when Beat Hazard, did you ever play that?
No, I don't think I even heard of it.
Beat Hazard was a twin stick shooter that came out, and you could import any song you wanted, and it would create a level around it. Like it was like an asteroid style top down shooter. And shortly after the game came out, there were a bunch of videos on YouTube of like people showing like their combo videos with Through the Fire and the Flames. Like the Through the Fire and the Flames level became, where what separated the men from the boys, because it's like just all boss monsters, because the way the algorithm would interpret like the tempo and like the amount of noise that was happening,
Oh Lord,
that would determine the difficulty. So Through the Fire and the Flames has like maybe 2 moments of respite from bosses, and the rest of it is just a boss rush. And like I think at one point there's 2 bosses at once, and it's like, for God's sake. So yeah, naturally that was the first song I played on the game, because I was like, I want to see it at its maximum level.
So you had to go Through the Fire and the Flames.
It's a good one, Jan.
Nailed
I
it.
like it. That was me clapping with my fists. I don't know why I was doing that. It kind of hurt.
What?
What?
Were you just punching your hands, essentially?
Yeah, kind of. It was, well, it's hard to describe. I wasn't hitting my knuckles. It was kind of like the inside of your hand. Like, okay, no. Not the inside of your hand. This little bit, forget it. Just don't worry about
All
it.
right, consider it forgotten. Although clapping by punching your hands is a good way to show that you approve of how well someone accomplished something, but you don't approve of what they did.
Oh, okay. Hey, yeah, I can dig that. It's begrudging respect. It's a begrudgingly respectful applause.
You hear that, Dad? There's a way you could still approve of me.
Anyway, getting back to the original question, which is like, what's a genre that immediately it's like, oh man, I'm on board? Because I don't think I can say it's first-person shooters. I definitely can't say it's rhythm games anymore. And I absolutely can't say it's like third-person action games, especially since the new God of War likes to call itself that, and it's not at all what I enjoy. And then like, so I never played the Dark Souls games, or well, I didn't play Bloodborne either. But when Sekiro came out, I was like, okay, well, the newest and greatest, that seems like the place where you jump in. This is, unlike movies or TV shows or something where it's like start off from the first episode of the first movie. Usually with video games, the thing that matters is the mechanics and the technical stuff. Like that always matters more than story, unless it's something story focused like Mass Effect maybe. But in the case of a third-person action game, it's like, yeah, you start off at the latest. So it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll finally get into this whole Souls-like thing, which I think sometimes it's called Soulsborne. So I started off with Sekiro. I played it at a game store. This is a play and trade, and play and trade lets you test any game before you buy it, which is, God,
great policy.
Man, if there's a play and trade near you, support it if you can, if you care at all, because they're all disappearing and they're wonderful stores. But yeah, I started playing Sekiro, and at first I was like, something's wrong. It's like I'm really bad at the game. So that's to be expected. Like, these games are really tough at the start, very unforgiving. Then I was like, is this a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 4 Pro? And they're like, that's a Pro. And I was like, oh no. This game
How
barely...
many frames a second was it, Tim?
Yeah. It was sub 30, that's for sure. In combat, it was almost consistently sub 30. And if it wasn't, the frame pacing is all over the place. And I know that probably doesn't make any sense. You'd probably have to look that up. I think Digital Foundry might have a video on it, but...
I think I understand. So, like, different parts have higher frame rates and other parts have lower?
Not exactly. It's like... so a frame rate, like the display, like what you're seeing will be 30 frames every second, but the frame pacing is like how many frames the game is actually making. I don't have the words. I don't have the language to describe it, but I know how it feels. And like when you play Half-Life 2 on the PC, it feels really smooth. But when you play it in the orange box, there's a lot of frame pacing issues. So even though it says it's locked at 30 frames per second, your inputs feel really jittery. If that makes sense. The frame pacing more has to do with how your controller, like how your inputs are interacting with the game itself, and less with how it's being displayed to you. Like, if a game drops frames, but the frame pacing is fine, like it's getting all your inputs still. It's just the display seems to be lagging behind a bit, and you'll notice it. But it's kind of like, that's kind of annoying, but at least it's still reading me. Frame pacing is where it'll inconsistently start reading your inputs, and like the amount of time between each read will be inconsistently measured.
So kind of like lag?
Yes, a lot like lag, but it's kind of a jittery lag where it's like this one was really fast, this one was really slow. So, and I went and looked it up. I watched the Digital Foundry video on Sekiro, and they're like, "Yep, this is super disappointing. FromSoft still can't program video games." And I was like, "Whoa, what is this about? I didn't know about this. I've only heard nothing but praise for the Soulsborne series." And then they were talking about how like Bloodborne was terrible at this, and like all of the Dark Souls games were terrible until like Dark Souls 1 Remastered on the Xbox One X is like finally a decent console experience. And up to now, like you just want the PC version of all these games. And I was like, I totally missed out on that part of the message. I didn't realize that the Soulsborne games were like mostly being played on PC. That completely went over my head. So then I was like, oh, maybe this is not the time for me to jump into it. But then I looked up.
You could get the remastered Dark Souls 1.
I can, yeah, on the Xbox One X. But then I was like, well, maybe this is something I hold off on getting into until I have like a gaming PC, which won't be happening soon. But it will happen sometime in the future. I think that's inevitable for anyone playing video games seriously. But yeah. Speaking of the wait, hang on. What got I was saying this as a result. It's really hard for me to trust third-person action games, even though I think that's my favorite genre. It's not something that I can just see on a box and know, like, I want to play that. And I think I figured it out. Like, whether it's good or not, the kind of games I really like to play are vehicle combat games. Like, stuff like
Mario Kart.
Kind of, yeah. Like, dude, I'll play any kart
mode?
racer. Yeah, I'll play any kart racer. I don't give a crap. Like kart racers and like games like Battle Tanks or Cell Damage or Grip. Like all of these games, I think I just like driving around a car with guns on it. Like whether the game's good or not, I think that's fantastic.
Then let's go to Detroit.
Good joke, Jan.
I'm really nailing these.
I think that's part of the reason why I like absolutely adored the new Mad Max game, where everyone else thought it was kind of I was like, I don't care. There's car fights in it. There's Carfu, as the Speed Racer game called it.
Oh,
there's another game I like.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's a cool term. I think that's the one for me. Because like there was a game that came out on the PS3 called Full Auto 2 Battle Lines or something. Horrible frame rate. Like, by all accounts, really not a great game, but I had a blast playing it, and I went back to it later, and I was like, yep, I'm still having a great time, even though this is terribly optimized. I think it's just, I like to see Carr go into fight. So that's probably the thing with me. And I had a follow-up question once we have your answer that goes along with that.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with an answer for a genre, but probably as generic as it sounds, first-person shooter.
Yeah.
They click for me.
Yeah. And just like even if they're not great, like you could still play one through.
Yeah, I could still have fun with them. I've played some not so great games, but I'm not able to remember any off the top of my head. It's been a long day, but for the most part, I can generally mesh well with them.
I think there's a very... I saw some like super involved scientific article about this one time where it's like there's something inherently satisfying about
Killing someone?
not necessarily killing someone actually, but it's like I can't remember what the term was. It was something like projection or something. It was like a bow and arrow, like as early as a bow and arrow, or even just throwing a spear. It was like a projectile, like firing a ballistic in any way automatically feels good, like no matter what. Like to the human brain or something, like aiming for a target and trying to get something there, like we just click with that automatically.
Good, because that helped us eat for a long time.
Yeah, it's probably why Angry Birds was so appealing, because it was like, yeah, put it in a slingshot, fire it at the thing. I just like that. I don't know. I don't care if I win or not.
That explains a lot then.
So yeah, I think there's a very easy appeal to first person shooter, especially when they are in first person like that. Just because it's like I can pretend that I am holding the thing. In third
Without
person, it's
actually having to.
yeah, without actually being in danger too. So there was a nickname for the genre that Titanfall 2 and like Quake Champions and like it's not really arena shooters per se, because I don't think all arena shooters fit into the genre. I heard this genre being thrown around when Lawbreakers was being hyped up before it like tanked, but it's called ZFPSs for Z-axis. Yeah, Z-axis FPSs. So it's like a first-person shooter where you aren't just, strafing and moving forward and back. Like you have the extra dimension of like moving up and down and all of it's like, full 3D movement, Attack on Titan style.
Titanfall 2.
Exactly.
The home run right there.
Yeah. So the second question I had related to this was, is that genre in a healthy state? And I think tragically, both of our genres are not in very good shape.
Well, all the games I'm thinking of right now are like Titanfall 2. I'd say Halo 5 might be a little bit...
Yeah, Halo 5 to a degree. Halo 5 has a lot of like dodging mechanics, and it has like
Reach might have actually been more so.
Yeah, Reach definitely was because it had the jetpack. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Reach, if you're playing a jetpack, would fit that a little more. I mean, it wasn't as fast paced, but yeah, like if that's the defining trait where you have like full 3D movement, absolutely Reach was, and Reach is coming back. We're gonna have people. Yeah, we're gonna have people playing Reach again. I don't know what they're going to do with Halo Infinite. Probably not that. I think Halo Infinite is very much going to be Halo 3 2, which is what everyone is saying that they want.
Halo 32. Oh, there's a lot of story missing. Where's Master Chief?
You gotta read the books, fam. We went through this with Halo 5. It's like, who are all these characters? What, you didn't read the books?
And Halo 4 a bit, I'd say.
Yeah, Halo 4 had a lot of book reading. Like a lot of references to the extended canon. But yeah, when you say Titanfall 2, it's like that was a while ago, and Titanfall 3 seems like it's not happening, and Quake Champions isn't doing great, and Lawbreakers was a huge flop.
Apex Legends has a bunch of 3D stuff, I think, mostly with I've played like 1 or 2 matches. Yeah, Pathfinder.
Pathfinder is the one that makes it Like if you play as him, it can kind of be a Z FPS.
Fortnite?
But not really. I mean, Fortnite
With
has the building mechanic.
it
Yeah, but that's kind of its
kind
own thing.
Yeah.
You don't have full 3D
Minecraft.
movement. Yeah, kind of. If we're really pushing it, I don't know. I don't really consider Minecraft a first-person shooter, though. Like, it's a first-person game. But the
First
you
person,
can shoot
you
in
have
it.
a bow.
Okay, you can shoot in it, but that is not the purpose of the game. And mods don't count. Shut up before you even get started. Mods don't count.
You will not fit in well in the PC gaming community.
No, Jan, I'm just saying, for this distinction, we're going to say mods don't count.
All right. Then
Otherwise, you can say Minecraft is any genre you want, which is, it's not helpful. And
then,
also,
I can't think of anything else.
if there was a mod for Minecraft that made it into a Quake-like or Titanfall 2-like game, and I haven't heard about it or seen any footage about it, I'm sure it exists. Lord knows there's a mod for Minecraft for any genre.
There's an Avatar: The Last Airbender mod that's actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw footage of that. David was telling me about that. He showed me a video he made for that a long time ago. But yeah, that would probably count. But it also it's not. It doesn't say that the genre is in a very healthy state right now. When I say healthy, it means it means like there's some good quality games coming out on at least like a yearly basis.
Or
And
we have one game to look forward to in that genre.
Yep. And I don't think we have one of those. I don't know of anyone for combat racing either. Like Grip was a good one that came out relatively recently. And if you count kart racing, it's actually in a surprisingly good state because we're getting Team Sonic Racing very soon, and then right after that we get the Crash Nitro Kart remake, which looks fantastic.
And then is there a new Mario Kart coming out, or is it?
There's a new Mario Kart coming out for phones called Mario Kart Tour.
I'm sure that won't be full of microtransactions.
Yeah. I guess it depends on if it's going to be free or not.
It disappoints me how many phone games just go to microtransactions simply because I always have my phone with me. I'd be willing to pay some money for a decent game, but they just rarely seem to exist.
Are you sure about that, Jan?
I mean, maybe there are. I don't look too often. I know there are at least a few. Like there's a real-time strategy called, I think, Iron Marines that a coworker of mine at least says is very good. I haven't tried it, but it's like $5 or $6.
Well, so Super Mario Run was not like a microtransaction laden video game. It was $10, I think. It was $5 or $10.
I meant a good game.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know if Super Mario Run was really a bad game.
As far as I could tell, it was a reskin of Temple Run. I didn't play it.
Somewhat, yeah. It was like a 2D. It was like a side-scrolling Temple Run. But I'm saying in the mobile phone space, you're asking $10 for a game. It's high quality in its genre, and it has the name recognition of Mario, and it was very underwhelming in its sales. So
Super Mario Run's free.
Oh, that's for like the first, I think, 4 levels or something. Then you do a one-time purchase for the rest of the game. It's Nintendo calls it free to start, I think, which is a good way of doing that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's like, here, buy the demo, and then your demo progress will be saved when you turn it into a full game. There's a game on the 3DS that they did like that. That was Steel Diver Sub Wars. It did that the same way. But yeah, I think that's
Octopath
cool.
Traveler does that.
Oh yeah, they got put on mobile.
Well, I meant like on the Switch, there was a demo, and if you played the demo and then continued the game, I think it carried on some of your save stuff. I think the demo was actually like a prequel or something.
I think there were 2 demos, and they would save your progress. Yeah, and it was like original content outside of the game itself. Square Enix is really cool about that when they actually do that kind of thing. They did that with Bravely Default as well. And yeah, that's a cool way of doing things. Speaking of Square Enix and things, what I think isn't a cool way of doing things is their Final Fantasy VII remake is going to be episodic.
Oh no.
And man,
Did they learn nothing from Hitman?
seriously, like that didn't work out for you guys. You had to sell off the IP.
Telltale is out of business.
Yeah, it's like, can we stop doing the episodic thing? Like, I don't like it. What I like is ship a complete game. If you want to do expansions later, I like how that elicited a laugh. Oh man, dude, Square Enix shipping a complete game, just that alone is laughable. But even in the greater context, it's like, ooh, pipe dreams. But yeah, the episodic format. Can we just not? Like, can we just stop doing that? Like, Resident Evil Revelations 2 got so much better when it was already done. You could buy it on a disc, and that was the whole game. It didn't just stop you at really awkward, inopportune moments. That was the way that I enjoyed the Telltale games, too. I never played them when they were still in production. I only played them when they were done. And I don't know, Lord knows, I have no idea if the episodic format is what led to them not doing well. But from what I can tell, this is overall a failed experiment that no one gets excited about something being episodic. Like, I've never seen that happen. It's always like a pill we have to swallow if it's something we care about. Oh boy,
I get to play for 4 hours before I have to wait 1 to 2 years.
God, man, in the case of Final Fantasy VII, yeah, I mean, it's been in production hell for so long. It like keeps getting announced and then goes quiet for 3 to 4 years. It's like, guys, you're still wanting to do this episodic thing. We have no idea if we'll ever get a finished story.
They're struggling to finish the first episode, much less the rest of it.
I know you probably don't remember this, but so Sonic the Hedgehog 1 through 3, legendary Genesis games, like huge big deals, like still hold up to this day. Then, like years later, they came out with Sonic the Hedgehog 4, or they announced it, and then they announced it's going to be episodic. So Sonic the Hedgehog Episode 1 came out on, like, I think WiiWare, on the Nintendo Wii. Then it got ported to other systems, like still Episode 1. Then, like, an uncomfortably long amount of time passed, and this was like 4 zones, so like it's really nothing for a Sonic game. Mm-hmm. I think it might have even just been 3. Then Episode 2 is announced, and it was so far later that the Wii was no longer supported. Oh. Like, the system you bought it originally on, like, that one's no longer supported. So to get the next part of this episode in this supposed single game, like, you can't get it on the platform it started on. And then Episode 2 is the last one because of how poorly it sold. So, like, Episodes 1 and 2, when I think it was supposed to be like a 5-episode game, it just never got finished. And that's not the only time it happened, too. It's like, guys, let's just not do that, okay? Let's drop it. No more. I remember there was this first-person adventure game. It was kind of a Metroid Prime style called Moon that was on the DS. Really ambitious, really interesting, like very heavy in atmosphere, and it was like a really odd thing to have on the DS, like this moody pseudo horror atmosphere first-person shooter based in space. But then they were like, let's remake it for the 3DS. Mm-hmm. And it was renamed Moon Chronicles, and it was episodic. And I played the first episode, which was like half of the first game, and they were like, don't worry, episodes 3, 4, and 5 will be sequel, like original content. I played the first one, and I was like, that was fine, but really unsatisfying. Totally forgot the game ever existed. I don't even know if the rest of the games came out, but I know that the developer almost went bankrupt. And like, or they might have actually gone bankrupt and had to like sell off a bunch of their assets. Moral of the story, once again, just, can we not? The episodic thing doesn't work. Half-Life 2's DLC. That episode 3 that never came out. let's not. Just no more, please.
Video games are not the medium for it.
Yeah, video games are episodic does not work for video games. It's just, especially since video games, like, the mechanics have to, like, they should be updated over time. Otherwise, if you release episode 1 and then 5 years later you release your finale, like, because video game development takes a while, the mechanics might be either really outdated in the full product, or playing episode 1 is gonna feel totally different from playing the later parts because those will have been outdated. Like, I'm pretty sure in the case of Resident Evil Revelations 2, they had the whole game completed before they released the episodes, and I think they came out on like a monthly or bi-monthly basis, which is probably the way to do it. But even then, the full released game was the best way to play it, like, after it was already done. But yeah, it just, yeah, like you said, video games they're not the medium for it. And I think the version of this that makes sense is what they're doing in multiplayer games, where they'll have temporary events. Like, that's kind of an episodic thing that I think works. It at least is much more profitable.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And less likely to tank your game.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it seems to drive profits, and that's why everyone's doing it. I think the logic behind the episodic thing was, I guess, partially to be experimental and to extend the amount of time that the game was being talked about, while still only having to make one video game. But as a result, it seems to have the opposite effect, where people talk about episode 1 and maybe episode 2, and then everyone stops talking about it before your game's even really finished coming out. So, anyway, let's move on from that, like the industry should.
I've actually got a question related to one of the earlier ones, but
go for it.
What's a genre you don't generally like, but you just love a few of the games in?
That's a good one. Do you have an answer for that one?
Kind of. Like, I'm not one for racing games, but Mario Kart's of course fun.
Yeah. Mario Kart's a very easy general audience type of thing.
Probably JRPGs.
Like, I think I have the same answer. like
you gotta dedicate a lot to them generally, and there are only a few that have been able to catch my interest. One of which, of course, being Pokemon, which I know that's super generic, but
I mean, it's super mainstream. But
yeah,
I think in the context
not generic,
of
but mainstream.
I think in the context of JRPGs, Pokemon is actually pretty weird. Like, it's pretty different compared to the rest of those, even though it absolutely is a JRPG. I think, yeah, I have a couple, like Final Fantasy 3/6, because in the US it was called 3, because we didn't get, I think, 3 through 5. They just weren't localized. They're like, we'll call this one the third one. That one that was on the SNES blew my mind. I loved it. It was amazing. I really liked 7 back in the day. I don't think 7 has aged particularly well. Actually, I don't think any of these have aged particularly well, in my opinion, because I don't like turn-based combat that much. 6 was a lot more real-time. It was more based on cooldowns, but still not quite my thing. But I can still go back and play those games and enjoy them almost on nostalgia alone. Same thing with the early Pokemon games. The newer Pokemon games, by all accounts, have like more refined mechanics and are more playable, but that nostalgia makes me enjoy the old ones so much. Like, I remember playing Soul Silver, and I think this is the first time I'd played like a turn-based game in what must have been like upwards of 6 years or something. But I played Soul Silver on the DS, and I was like, yep, I still love this game.
That is still probably one of the best experiences.
Yeah, God, I love it so much. But yeah, I think the thing with JRPGs is that they're very character driven, and they're very focused around like memorable scenes and big moments, and they always seem to have satisfying narrative payoff. At least in the ones that I play. Like, the finale to Final Fantasy VII and so many good moments in Final Fantasy VI are just like burned into my memory to where like I don't really remember them for the combat or the gameplay. It was really the story that I was remembering them for.
So the only Final Fantasy that I've played is the first one.
Ooh, that one is brutal.
Yeah, it was on PSP.
Oh, you played that version. That's a very good version of that game.
I don't think I ever beat it, mostly because it was on PSP, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
But like I've tried a bunch of JRPGs, probably not recently, but I tried a bunch back in the day. Like I tried Lost Odyssey on the Xbox 360. I tried. Okay, I actually really liked Xenoblade Chronicles X, and I think I like Xenoblade Chronicles X because of the themes and setting. Like it's sci-fi, and there's mechs, and the way the combat works is more about positioning yourself and your teammate while managing cooldowns, and it's more tactical, I feel. I don't know. It's probably not as tactical as like a turn-based strategy game, of course, but it has enough real-time urgency that I feel like I'm making decisions rapidly to where it keeps my interest and it feels more exciting. Also, the music in Xenoblade Chronicles X is absolutely banging, and it's from like one of my favorite Japanese composers. He did the soundtrack to Kill la Kill.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see it.
So yeah, a lot of this is a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles X panders to my tastes, and then when Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was announced to have a totally different art style and like setting and everything and like be more fantasy, I was like, all right, bye, never playing that. I don't think I could be less interested in the direction this series is taking. Oh shoot, I just thought of one.
Go
like
on.
Another genre where it's like I really like certain games in it. I think probably horror. And specifically I seem to only like Resident Evil. Like I've played Silent Hill, and I can recognize that Silent Hill games are good games. Okay, well some of them are good games. But like I've also played some of Outlast. Like I tried to play a lot of Outlast. I really tried to get into Zombie U.
What about Dead Space?
Oh, okay. I love Dead Space. Not Dead Space 3, obviously, but like Dead Space 1 in particular is super good, and I think it's because Dead Space 1 is Resident Evil in space. Like the gameplay is almost identical.
So
like,
I don't think I've played a horror game now that I'm thinking about it. Well,
what?
I played Amnesia: The Dark Descent.
That's absolutely a horror game.
But I ended up turning it into a rather not scary experience. Like I found a chair and I tried to go through the entire game carrying it, and I was fairly successful. I never beat the game because it was something I was doing while hanging out with people in college for one night. But I'd say I made it a good third of the way through the game carrying a chair.
You were carrying a chair?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I think I was able to like lift objects, and I was able to lift a chair. So I just picked it up and walked around with it.
Huh. That's interesting. That's an interesting challenge. That seems like the kind of thing you do after you've beaten a game, though, where it's like, I'm going to try to make this same thing more interesting now. Like,
with Left 4 Dead? I don't know. I'd say some parts of it are very scary, but
see, this is where I'm not exactly sure how to define a horror game in that case. Because, like, Resident Evil 6 isn't scary at all, yet I think it still counts as survival horror, even though it has a lot of action elements. Resident Evil 5 wasn't scary. Resident Evil 4 really wasn't that scary, but they all have survival horror elements, which is like you're always running low on resources. You're always like low on health. Enemies aren't enemies don't really shoot back, but they're more like, trying to crowd you, and you're in uncomfortable spaces and situations. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a clear difference between Resident Evil 6 and like Ghost Recon, even though they're both technically third-person shooters. It's like the moment-to-moment gameplay and the combat even though both of them are third-person shooters with like resource management. It's totally different.
Oh,
So, like,
I know. Minecraft.
Yeah. Anyway, horror games, there's a lot that I've played that just don't click with me, and then also I get too scared to continue. Like Outlast, I'm being 100%. I am too scared to play Outlast at all.
It's its own worst enemy.
Yeah, like, God, and it's, God, I have so much respect for that game because of how much it scared me, because I'm just like, I have video games, I've probably seen the worst they have to offer, but I think in the first, like, maybe 2 or 3 hours of Outlast, I could not continue. I was like, I can't do this. I can't.
I know what we're playing next time we're hanging out.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay, so I guess to wrap it up,
we end up talking about video games pretty much the whole time again.
Yeah. We're probably not going to be able to fit in the Detective Pikachu thing. I was kind of just going to say it seems really difficult to adapt video games to the screen. And I think it's because oftentimes we misunderstand why we're enjoying video games, which is interesting, talking about the JRPG thing where I remembered them because of story beats. Right. The reason we end up enjoying video games isn't necessarily because of the stories. It's really about the feeling, and the feeling comes from interacting with it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that video games are inherently a far more personal experience. I mean, unless you're just watching someone play it, that, that's a little different. But like if you're the person playing Metal Gear Solid, that game's storyline has a completely different effect on you than if there was just a movie adaptation of Metal Gear, which there is going to be a Metal Gear Solid movie from a good director, I should say. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but Detective Pikachu didn't prove me wrong.
No, I still want to see it regardless. Would you say it's a decent movie?
No, not at all.
Oh.
I think it's brand recognition, the movie. Where it's like, hey, I recognize that Pokemon. It's horrifying and ugly, but I recognize that Pokemon.
Well, I'm still going to see it, and I'm still probably going to enjoy it for the sheer wonder of finally we got a Pokemon movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it at least accomplishes that at the bare minimum. Like, they got literally all of the recognizable Pokemon in there, I think, besides Lucario. Like, it's got all of the Smash Brothers Pokemon, like Jigglypuff, Pikachu, Mewtwo, Greninja, Charizard, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, like the most recognizable ones, all there. Like, all well represented. But, yeah. And then the other thing I was going to do was going to update on the games that I beat. Those games being, I finally beat Dangerous Driving. Really underwhelming experience, and the last 2 missions, I think, tank that game's rating for me because they're awful. One of them is like, you can't make a single mistake or it's going to be a total failure, and it's a really long, it's a really long mission. Like, the challenge, it is a long drive, and it takes a long time to beat, and you can't make a single mistake. That's really frustrating. Mm-hmm. And then the one right after that, which is actually very easy and supposed to be kind of a victory lap, where it's like, it gives you the fastest car on the fastest track, and it's like, just don't hit anything. So it's like, just keep going extremely fast and, weaving in and out of traffic. It's kind of easy. But even on the Xbox One X, in performance mode, the frame rate is borked the whole time. I even restarted the console, and I restarted the mission a couple times at first, and then I restarted the console, and it was like, it is impossible to appreciate or enjoy the victory lap mission. And then when you beat the game, all it has for you is, thanks for playing, and then it takes you to the main menu. And it's like, are you serious? After the grueling challenge that is the later state of this game. So, yeah, kind of a letdown. I also beat Danger Zone 2, which was the pack-in game with Dangerous Driving, which was the crash mode minigame from Burnout. It's kind of the spiritual successor to that. Really easy, a good way to burn 2 hours. Nice to, just see some physics-based explosions in a video game happen. I miss good old-fashioned tech demo video games. Those are fun. I mean, we all love Crysis and Far Cry 2. Why not do tech demo video games? Just to watch some crazy technology.
Push the boundaries.
Yeah, why not? Who cares if we're putting the frame rate at 12 frames per second? Look at all the crazy destruction happening on screen.
Crackdown 3. I guess what they were trying to be.
At first, yeah. Then they were like, well, let's make a sound video game instead. And then everyone punished them for it. Not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. Then I also beat Need for Speed Payback 3. It also gets worse the more you play it. Awful video game. Need for Speed desperately needs to be rebooted and refocused and maybe given to a different developer. I beat Half-Life 2, finally.
Yay!
This late in the game, this is going to happen a lot with my backlog. A lot of games where it's like, what, you didn't play that yet? Or at least you didn't beat that yet. Beat Half-Life 2. Huge cop-out of an ending. I'm assuming the episodes address that since they take place after the fact. But then as I understand, episode 2 also ends on a major cliffhanger. So, yeah. Screw you, Valve. I think it'd be different if the first one kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but it doesn't. It just ends on an unexplained freeze shot and then literally dumps philosophical just BS on you, like meaningless philosophical nothingness. Like that's all it has to say for the extremely frustrating and spammy final mission, which happened after a really fun power trip mission once that gravity gun gets upgraded.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, God, that is...
Yeah, that was really fun. But, like, dismantling that teleporter that the main bad guy's using at the ending, God, was so frustrating, especially since they were constantly making enemies spawn right behind you while it was happening.
I don't remember having trouble with that at all.
It's possibly just because I suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I played the whole game. I think I did a pretty good job. I became a real crack shot with that revolver. I was like taking out head crabs as they jumped at me with a revolver.
Nice.
That game's guns have really good gun feel.
Oh, and really good sound.
Yeah, I think the sound is satisfying, if not really cheesy. Like, they don't sound like real guns sound. They sound like action movie guns, but, that's a good thing.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah, that's in its favor. The shotgun in that game is so good. The effective range, so much better than like every other video
shotgun
game. Yeah, it's really satisfying. I think it definitely shows its age in a lot of the design choices. I think if that game had maybe half the physics puzzles, it would be twice as good. I think we needed maybe tops 3 physics puzzles. But when you're going across a toxic lake by gradually picking up one thing, putting it in front of you, jumping onto that, and then turning around and repeating the same process for 10 minutes, this should be cut from the game. That's not fun.
The gravity gun's fun, though.
Yeah, the gravity gun's fun, just not when you reduce it to that. There needed to be more picking up saw blades and firing it into zombies than physics puzzles.
That was a lot of Ravenholm, though. That was pretty much as I could in Ravenholm, which also was terrifying when I first played it.
Oh yeah, Ravenholm is good and scary, but God, there are so many bits in that game where I'm just like, this, I can absolutely see that this was the peak when it came out, but there's a lot that hasn't aged well. Like,
when did that come out? Like 2 decades ago?
I believe it was 2006. Shoot, I can't remember for sure. I don't think it was 2 decades.
Decade and a half.
2 decades ago would be 1999. But yeah. I can tell it's good. It's cool to play it at super sampled 4K. That's really pretty, and have it run at a solid frame rate, although quite jittery, like a From Software game. But it didn't kill the experience for me. I think the good thing about Half-Life 2 is that it doesn't present itself as like a hardcore challenge. It's just, you kind of have to think in the situations, but you don't have to have insane skill to beat it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there was a mod someone made that added the Titanfall movement into Half-Life 2.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
This is why I need to get into PC gaming. Because that sounds a million times better. Dude, the HEV suit being able to give you that mobility, now it's a cool suit. Otherwise,
And
it's
like
just something.
that includes like the wall running.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the coolest part.
Just making sure everyone knows Gordon Freeman running on walls. I imagine him using the crowbar to kind of grab onto them with it.
Ooh. Dude. I think Gordon Freeman is a funny main protagonist. Just because.
I love the jokes he cracks.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it's unfortunate that he was so popular, because he's made it cool to have such a blank slate first person shooter main character, and I don't like that. Like, even though Doom Guy doesn't talk in Doom 2016, he has 900,000 times the character that Gordon Freeman does. Like, Gordon Freeman is literally a blank slate with a name.
And a PhD.
Sure, like, that's his character. Oh, he has a PhD. Whoop-de-doo. Most overrated part of that game is Gordon Freeman as a hero. The other characters I genuinely like. Genuinely enjoyed probably that whole cast. Really likable group of people. Real shame that game won't ever get a sequel. And then lastly, last game I beat, which I didn't expect to beat this, the finale kind of snuck up on me, was Super Mario Odyssey. Took me a long time to beat it. But Jan, I'm not going to spoil anything. Play that game, if only for the ending. That was the most exhilarated I've felt for an ending mission since the Halo 3 Warthog run.
Ooh.
Like, it actually reminded me of the Warthog run. Like, my feelings, they were coming back to me from that moment. It was like, what is going on? Like, I was covered in goosebumps the whole time.
That is a high bar you're setting.
It meets it. Like, me and Tabitha, like, I was playing it with her. We were recording this. This will come out way after this podcast, but we were recording it. And when this mission starts, we were like actually speechless. We were like, what is going on? It's so cool. Like, it had the fist pumping excitement of like the Bayonetta finale, while having like the weight of the Halo 3 finale.
Huh.
Like, oh my god. It's so good. Super Mario Odyssey kind of went from a really awkward 8 out of 10 to an absolute 10 for me after that final mission. Like, man, I put so much stock in endings, and that game benefits from it more than any I've ever played. Whew. But yeah, that's all I got to talk about. Did you beat anything?
Halo Wars 2.
Yeah.
It was good. I think I enjoyed the first one more, mostly because
the first one seems to occupy a bigger place in the story.
Yeah, it introduces a lot of characters, and the second one's kind of got some of them there. But
Atriox is a good villain.
Oh yeah, he's cool. But I think the biggest thing was in the first one you could make Spartans, which gave it a much cooler mechanic to them, where in the second one you've got 3 that can't really die. Like, they'll get knocked out, and then if you just put characters near them after a little timer, they come back up.
Oh, that kind of takes the wind out of it.
Yeah, it kind of, like, some missions are still pretty hard, but I feel like that's not, it makes, no, I don't know if it makes sense story-wise in comparison to the first one where you're manufacturing Spartans like out of nowhere, but it kind of takes a mechanical hit because of that.
Yeah, that was like my favorite part about the first Halo Wars, was being able to like command Spartans into battle, and I loved how much more capable they were than anyone else, but then they could also die.
Well, I'd say still play it, mostly because it's not a super long game. I think it took me 8 to 10 hours, and It was pretty enjoyable. There were some cool things in it, and the cutscenes, of course, are beautiful, like in the first one.
Yeah. Microsoft kind of just, I think, has an unlimited cutscene budget when it comes to Halo. Like, it's like, how much is it going to take? Literally name your price. We will spend any amount of money required. And they're not concerned with keeping them in engine. Whereas, like, Gears of War is kind of like an Unreal Engine showcase, so they want to have it in engine. With Halo, it's like, I don't know, Studio Blur, here, come remake all of Halo 2 if you don't mind. We'll give you more budget than you're getting for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Let's just make the cutscenes anime. Get the Halo Legends people on the phone.
Dude, that would be sick.
Yeah, actually, now that I've said it, I'm kind of hyping myself up for something I know won't happen.
Dude, I just got Halo Legends on Blu-ray, like, the other day. I went and found it. I need to watch it. It's not open from the shrink wrap yet.
Nice.
Dude,
all right, we should wrap this up because it's past an hour.
Hang on. Didn't you also beat Bayonetta 1?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I beat that.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I messaged Tim after I beat it being like, yeah, I didn't realize there was more to the game. It just kind of stops the credits and starts a whole nother thing. And
were you not looking at it when it happened?
I was looking at it, but it just caught me off guard. And then
I love the way the credits are pushed out. like the gun heel just comes down, crushes them out of the way, and it's like, no, we're not done yet.
Are we cool with spoilers?
It's a
pretty old game, yeah.
Yeah, you can spoil it.
When you're knocking the creator into into the sun,
it's one of the gods.
You're knocking it into the sun, and so I thought, of course, I'm gonna rail it through every planet on the way, get some damage in there.
Yeah.
Turns out not what you're supposed to do. I guess destroying Earth has some negative side effects. So I had to redo that one with the new knowledge.
Yeah, you're supposed to keep the god from running into the other planets and have it go straight into the sun. And then once you throw it into the sun, you then manually go and destroy each individual piece while it's being burned up. It's like,
it's pretty hype.
Yeah, if you're going to kill a god, you make sure it's going to die.
All right, we should sign off.
Yes. I don't know if we have a thing that we end on.
I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to do it again.
It can't become a thing. I won't let it. But yeah, I guess see y'all next time. Can't say how frequent it's going to be. I was thinking maybe we increase the frequency of these, but it would be at the cost of the gameplays, and I don't know what people want. I guess we'll see how well this does in the long run. Maybe shift those priorities a little bit. But yeah, guess I'll see y'all next time. Hope you enjoyed this installment of Tajma Podcast.
Such a stupid name. I love it.
God, it's the best one we can come up with. If we even try, we cannot try.
All right.
Message of the month: don't try. You'll make it worse.
Also, don't make video games into series or not series episodic.
Episodes.
There you go.
Yeah, don't make episodic video games.
I'm gonna say goodbye.
And don't try. Bye bye.
Bye.
Same.